Hello. Um,
Hi.
Hi. This is
As they say in a certain reality TV series today, it's just family.
yeah. Even Friedrich in the end decided not to join us. Well, um, uh, he's focusing on some other stuff to prepare for our future live streams. So I'm sure it will be great. Anyway, we have some stuff to discuss today. Well, obviously the one that the thing that's on the thumbnail of the live stream on the preview.
Hello.
Some
Hi.
is this
This
sound
is,
coming from me
as
or
they
from you,
say in a
Pasha?
certain reality TV series today. What?
There
What
is
is
there is
coming?
some background
No,
noise.
no, I don't have any
It's on my
noise.
side. Okay.
Please write us if there is some noise. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I found it. So yeah, obviously today is not the best day from the technical standpoint, but we'll see how it goes. And yeah, besides that, there is some news to discuss. Pasha prepared some stuff, and also I visited a printing festival this past weekend, so we're going to talk about it as well. And I have some videos prepared for you. I'm not sure if I will be able to show them to you because, well, technical issues. But I'll do my best to prepare well, while Pasha will talk. I will do some magic.
Meanwhile, everyone, as usual, we'd be very glad to know where you're joining us from. Please write in the comments, at least the country, better still the city. We collect the locations, and I think this is it. If you have any questions, any comments, we're also following the comments both on Facebook and YouTube, so we'll do our best to answer all your questions.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I'm finally streaming from our permanent home in Windsor, so internet connection should be better than before. Well, last time we tried it with Islam Ali, it was a complete fail, and we had to reschedule, and we'll reschedule it's for some moment in the beginning of April, so in a couple of weeks from now. Stay tuned for that as well. So, Pasha, uh, what are we going
Okay,
to
so
say? Show, screen sharing,
yes,
whatever.
yes, I am. Screen sharing, here I am. So, what we are going to talk about is this. This is the Mandalorian alphabet from the world of StarCraft, I wanted to say for some reason, from the world of Star Wars. As you all know, or many of you know, the third season of Mandalorian is currently on. I haven't seen the today's episode yet, but I've seen the first three, and we're gonna talk about the two objects that appear in the series. But first, a few words about this alphabet. As you can see, it's just the English alphabet, but written with different symbols. It's been known from the very beginning, which is for 20 years now. So any writing in Mandalorian that appears in either the film or the TV series or the cartoon series, we can immediately translate from Mandalorian into English. The alphabet itself was first designed in 2002, I think, for one of the new films. And when it first appeared, it looked something like this. It was mostly short notices, either on screens, on holographic projections by Mandalorian characters like Boba Fett or his son or his trainer, his friends. Later on, it appeared in even smaller amounts and always just the technical information. But On this season, there were two objects, one in episode 1 and one in episode 3, that contained some significant portions of text. I'll start with the bigger one, the more impressive one in episode 3.
I haven't gotten to this point yet. So I watched the first episode and half of the second episode. So I haven't seen this. This is spoilers for me.
I'll be very light on the spoiler side. So in the third episode, the main character, and one of his sidekicks visit the planet of Mandalore and go to the mines to get a certain sacred source of water. And next to the source, there is this imposing imperial inscription. I can't read Mandalorian, but here is the sort of not translation, even transliteration. These are the living waters that date to the old age. There is a mythical creature living in these waters, and the skull of this creature has become the symbol of the planet. I don't know what it looks like to you, but to me it certainly looks like the font itself originates from something like a runic system back here on Earth in the real world. It doesn't look like it was meant to be in negative in relief the way it is here. It looks like it was originally cut. It mostly consists of vertical lines. It looks a bit like, say, ancient Babylonian writing or something that was pressed into clay or cut into wood like the Viking runes were. And the second object that appears in the series in the first episode, I think, is very much indicative of what it was designed to be. You can see a piece of metal with incisions into it and some very fragmentary looking text. The crystal it's encased into is the result of a special ray that turned most of the surface into crystal. So we get these broken objects all over the surface, including these small inscriptions. And the interesting thing about this inscription is that when it was where was it? When it was transcribed into English, it had some fragmentary words. It starts mid-sentence, it ends mid-sentence, even mid-word even. But some words do look very highbrow, very old school, like, say, remaineth and thy fathers. And it is these words that I think gave the idea to the Star Wars community to look for the source of the text in the Bible, because it looks very much like King James Bible style, and indeed it is. They very soon found the text, and I really liked how they found the original text and reconstructed what the Mandalorian text would have looked like.
Yeah,
So
that was what my question was, because well, you have some separate words, you can guess from where it is, but well, how do you pinpoint the exact page or whatever unless you know the text, by heart?
oh no, I think that if you search for remaineth in the concordance of the King James Bible, and it is online, there wouldn't be too many instances. And certainly, here's the word resid. If you guess that it's residue, okay, residue can't be that common of a word. But I think that they searched for thy fathers and then looked through the text. The textual fragment itself isn't that memorable, so I don't think that anybody would remember precisely where it comes from. But it is relevant to the story because it tells of how God punished Israelites yet again and killed all the animals and covered the earth with salt. You know,
The
the
usual
usual
stuff.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, what he usually does to his favorite children. Yeah. uh, but
He or she or whatever.
they, I know in England they are now discussing to start using gender neutral pronouns for
Yeah,
God.
yeah, yeah,
I wonder
exactly.
how that is gonna
Which
work
which 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 led to some strong butthurt in some countries.
in most countries, I would say. uh, so here it is. This is the fragment of Exodus. So the story of uh, uh, Israelites leaving Egypt and coming back to Israel. Uh, and when I saw this reconstruction, this broken text with letter with line of text starting mid-word, ending mid-word, and when I thought about how people found where this text comes from, it immediately reminded me of how papyrologists and textual scholars in general work to reconstruct the content of ancient fragments of manuscripts, of mostly of papyri, but sometimes even fragments of codices only survive in burnt individual pieces, and you need to find like the one word that you sort of recognize, and then go through all the locations of it in ancient texts, and then you align the text, and here immediately another thing. Uh, you can see that they reconstructed the width of the original text. So we don't just know where it comes from, but how wide the column was, which
Mhm.
is also what textual scholars do all the time. So I thought to myself, wouldn't it be fun to find some similar fragment of the original Hebrew text, ideally the oldest such fragment, uh, which is actually one of the hobbies of mine. I'm really into early biblical manuscripts, so I sort of knew where to look. And it was really fun to try and find it. And now I'll tell you what I found out. So
I will stop you before before
yeah,
this
do that.
because we definitely have some viewers today, but everybody is keeping their silence. Everybody is silent, and it's a bit upsetting to us. Please share with us from where you join us, from which country, from which city, and it will make us much happier than we are at the moment. And obviously, if you have any questions, anything, please post, and we'll try to answer. Maybe you have something to add.
So what I was gonna do, what I was wondering was what is the earliest attestation of this particular part of Exodus in Hebrew? To be more precise, uh, this is Exodus chapter 10, verses 5 to 6. This is usually how biblical text is addressed: chapter and verses. Uh, the most common story, if you go and look at YouTube videos or popular articles about the earliest manuscripts of the Bible, they usually go like this. And this is what you can also trace through this wonderfully but not written but not exhaustive article on Wikipedia. The earliest examples of Hebrew Bible are all from the Dead Sea Scrolls collection. As many of you know, these were found in the mid 20th century in caves near Qumran, not far from Dead Sea. They are probably a part of the library of the sect of Essenes, an early Hebrew sect, early Jewish sect that did not survive the Bar Kokhba revolt. All the manuscripts found there are from around the time of Jesus, plus or minus 150 years. Some of them are very complete, very big, but most of them look something like this. So,
or even smaller pieces.
oh yeah, this is a good example.
Yeah.
I'll show you small examples.
Okay.
There is about 1,000 manuscripts recovered from 11 caves. Most of the manuscripts themselves are divided into dozens of fragments. And if you go through another Wikipedia page, which is again very well written, although not exhaustive, and look for Exodus, you find some examples. All of them very fragmentary, none of them covering chapter 10. So Exodus does not survive in entirety from this collection. But there are some very near misses. For example, here, chapter 9, verses 27 to 29. So only about 10 verses from what we're into. We are into chapter 10, verses 5 and 7. And this particular manuscript, the nearest miss I found, is actually a very good example of what this collection is like. Here they are. I mean, look at that. Just you look at that. Very similar to what we are looking at. A few lines starting and ending mid-word, and luckily some of them could be at least said to come from the same page or from the same scroll. And it's another really interesting story of how they do it, because these fragments, as the oldest examples of the Hebrew Bible, have been analyzed in myriad ways. Some of the smallest fragments have been scanned using some of the biggest scientific equipment in existence, using tokamaks, and even a large hadron collider was used to analyze them. And it was done to find the exact composition of ink, to find the trace elements in the papyrus and parchment, etc., etc. They were certainly decades ago one of the first ones photographed using multispectral imaging to find the smallest traces of ink still remaining.
I think I've heard recently that there were some experiments with using artificial intelligence on for assembling shredded pieces of of whatever writing
We'll
material.
see. I've been following these experiments both on this corpus and on the Wheel of the Papyri from Herculaneum. There is this big collection by now found over a century, well over a century ago, of burnt papyrus scrolls, a whole library found not far from Vesuvius, and they can't be unrolled
Yeah,
because
yeah,
when you start to unroll them, they crumble into pieces in front of you. So
yeah.
people have been scanning
Into
them.
ashes almost. Yeah.
Oh yeah, people have been scanning them using fMRI, getting three-dimensional picture, and now artificial intelligence and related computer vision algorithms have been used to reconstruct some fragments, but the final success is still very much
Reconstruction is one thing,
far
but
away.
what I also meant is when you have thousands of small pieces, obviously going looking through all of them and trying to compare them and to match them together is like having a puzzle with 10,000 pieces, 9,000 pieces of which are missing. So maybe that's something artificial intelligence can give us a hand with. We'll
Uh,
see.
there's been some success in identifying individual scribes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That I heard as
Yes.
well. That's true.
So the shapes of the letters are very slightly different and often particular to a single scribe. So
But
there's been some success in identifying them. Uh,
going on absolute tangent, I think they've done this to some later text as well. I'm not sure about Shakespeare, but well, something, and the algorithm is told that there are more than one author there. So yeah, I well, please check me on that because I'm not sure about it. I'll read a couple of comments and then we'll return to the manuscripts. So we have Henrik Galun, greetings from Poland, Olsztyn. I hope I pronounced it right. Hi, Henrik. Nice to have you here. And Beb van Hasteren joined us.
oh, hi,
Our
Bab. So nice to hear you.
amazing guest from the last year, I think. I'm a bit lost in time. Hi from the Netherlands. I'm following the Mandalorian. Huge fan of Pedro Pascal. Me too.
Me
Um,
too.
no spoilers, please. I haven't seen episode 4 yet. Well, as I mentioned earlier, I just started watching the second episode. Pavel watched the third, and neither of us have watched this fourth, so we won't give any spoilers for you.
Mm.
Yeah. So if anybody else wants to share their location, tell us from where they are joining us, and or maybe comment something, add something. Please post a comment, and check the links in the description because we have, besides YouTube and Facebook, we have other places like TikTok. I'm not sure I posted the TikTok link yet, but yeah, follow us on TikTok, Pavel.
So this is the usual starting point for exploring the history of Hebrew Bible manuscript. Usually, what is said next is the following: that these are examples of very early texts, and this is why they are so famous, because they are the earliest texts from around the first century BC to first century CE. Then, for 1,000 years, we don't have a single complete manuscript of Hebrew Bible, and this is indeed true. While we have copies of copies of copies of text of the text of the Hebrew Bible based on early examples, we don't have complete manuscripts for over 1,000 years. The saddest example of that is what was formerly known as the oldest complete manuscript of Hebrew Bible, or Tanakh, as they say in Hebrew, and it was the Aleppo Codex. What survives of it is displayed in the Shrine of the Book. I mean, we've mentioned this museum for quite a few times. If you have an opportunity to visit in Jerusalem, can't recommend enough. Some of the most impressive books and scrolls and fragments from the early history of Israel are all there, and we've mentioned many of the books currently kept there. And Aleppo Codex is, or what survives of it, is now there. Here's what it looks like with the blackened corners behind the protective glass. But as you can guess from the name, it certainly didn't start its life there. Aleppo Codex had been preserved in the Syrian city of Aleppo by the Jewish community that used to live there, that had lived there for over a thousand years. And for the last 500 or 600 years, they were custodians of this manuscript. Unfortunately, in 1947, when the creation of the State of Israel was announced, there was a series of pogroms all over the Near East. And Aleppo was one of the cities where pogroms were the strongest, the most awful. Many buildings were either destroyed or torched, people were killed, and treasures were looted. And the treasury of the Aleppo synagogue was one of the victims, and the Aleppo Codex, its greatest treasure, was one of the victims too. In fact, for a couple decades, it was thought that it was destroyed until sometimes in the 60s, I think, refugees from Syria to Israel brought what they saved just after the pogroms back to Israel. But soon, very soon after the joy of finding out that the codex still existed, it was found that much of it was missing. In fact, almost half. So it is no longer the oldest complete manuscript. It is no longer complete. And in fact, much of the first 5 books of Hebrew Bible, much of Torah, was missing, including all of Exodus, which, just let me remind you, is what we're looking for.
So no luck there.
So the formerly most complete Hebrew manuscript no longer contains the parts that we're interested in.
It isn't useful for us.
Yeah, well, I should say that perhaps in the future more of the manuscript will turn up, because it was long thought until very recently that the manuscript was burned, so the part that is missing just was destroyed. And in fact, if you look at the pages, you can see these dark stains on the corners. And it was thought that they were consequence of a fire. But it was recently discovered that it was not burned. In fact, no analysis of the book showed any traces of higher temperatures. So this is basically fungal. And also pretty recently, in the recent decades, a couple of photographs made before 1947 have turned up. Oh yeah, I should say, this wasn't just a treasure of this Jewish community, it was the treasure. And they didn't let any Western scholar to come and study it. They, despite many attempts to make a photographic facsimile, no photographer was ever allowed to make a copy. So we don't. I can't even show you photographs of the lost pages. But in the 19th century, two European travelers did manage to get a shot. So we have two photographs from the 19th century. Where is it? Here's one from the 1880s. And here's another, most recently discovered from the 1910. And you can see, by the way, here that corners are already darkened. So this is another clue that it wasn't burned. The photographs, by the way, are not from Exodus. One is from Deuteronomy, another from, what was that? From Genesis. And we are looking for Exodus,
So,
chapter 10, verses 5 and 6.
Yeah.
So this is not helping.
Yeah.
But
I'll make another interruption because well we have another comment there. And just to for additional suspense, I guess. So Diana Goodwin, greetings from Belgium. I cataloged medieval manuscripts and I love Star Wars. What a perfect match. Nice to have you here, Diana.
Yeah. Perhaps we could talk about something interesting.
Yeah, like medieval manuscripts and Star Wars.
And Star Wars, obviously, yeah. So, we are pretty sure that the manuscript wasn't burnt, but a half of it has been missing since 1947. There is, however, some hope that it was stolen and is currently kept in a safe somewhere. Or perhaps somebody going through the rubble took it as a memento, as in fact we know happened to at least one person, because in 1988 this small fragment of Exodus, chapter 8, unfortunately not 10, was found in private collection of a survivor of the pogrom. And in one of his diaries, there is a mention of how he went through the rubble after the fire in the synagogue and found this fragment. How we can reconcile it with the fact that the surviving half of the manuscript has no traces of fire is a bit unclear. This one isn't burnt either, by the way. So either it wasn't a memento taken from the fire, or the survivor of the pogroms wasn't telling the whole truth. We don't know, but there is still hope that this amazing manuscript still survives. And I have to name drop Maimonides here, because Maimonides, the great Jewish 14th century, yes, I think 14th century scholar, who was the first one to standardize the text of Hebrew Bible, consulted this very manuscript, consulted Aleppo Codex, and we know that because he recorded it in his letters and his books. And the modern standard text of Hebrew Bible that came down to us, to Maimonides, largely stems from this manuscript. So it has not just culture, not just value as an object, it has a very historical significance. So there is still hope. So this is the Aleppo Codex, which the closest we can get is this small fragment found in New York 40 years after the pogroms. Let's go on. So the next point is the story as it's usually told. So Qumran manuscripts, Dead Sea Scrolls, then the now semi-lost Aleppo Codex. Now we come to the oldest complete manuscript, which is the so-called Leningrad Codex. As you can guess, it is currently in St. Petersburg. And it has been
not so obvious, you know, for anyone outside Russia or ex-Soviet Union republics. But
so
yeah, okay.
it's called Leningrad Codex because the modern scientific edition of Hebrew Bible was based largely on this codex, and it was made during the Soviet times when it was called Leningrad.
Well, when St. Petersburg was called Leningrad.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there were some calls to rename it back to St. Petersburg Codex or to the Latin variant of the name Codex Petropolitanus, which I like a lot. But both names are already used for other biblical manuscripts. So St. Petersburg.
Codex Leninopolitanus?
So the Russian State Library in St. Petersburg asked the international community to preserve this name, and this is how it's known. To non-specialists like me, it's mostly known for its amazing carpet pages. Clearly based on Islamic precedents, and it is in fact it was in fact produced in Islamic lands, probably in Cairo, or no, definitely in Cairo, as attested by its colophon in very early 11th century. And I should say that the lost Aleppo Codex was of circa 920, so of almost a century earlier, 10th century. So this codex has been in St. Petersburg since 1860s. Its provenance is very unclear. We know who it was bought from. It was bought from this amazing gentleman. I mean, quite a character. His name is Abraham Ferkovich. He's not strictly speaking Jewish. He's a Karaite, which is a Crimean Jewish community with some difference in their faith. In fact, in modern Israel, there is some controversy whether Karaites can repatriate to Israel. The thing is, during the Second World War, when Crimea was
under German occupation,
occupied by the Germans, Karaite community managed to convince the occupiers that they are not Jews, which is how they survived. Well, they survived, but the Jews of Crimea didn't. and the Jews of the world had never forgotten that. But still, to us outsiders, Karaites are Crimean Jews, and one of those Jews managed to acquire an enormous collection of very important manuscripts. Hebraic collection of St. Petersburg Library basically consists mostly of acquisitions from him. There was a direct edict from the Russian emperor to buy this collection in its entirety. Leningrad Codex was scanned many times. So if you want, you can go and see it. Here's the first page of Exodus. I decided not, why like that? I decided not to look for exact place where verses 5 to 6 are located, but this is the beginning of Exodus. By the way, the scanning itself was quite an operation. It was photographed in color during the Soviet times, but modern scanning technology with its high definition only happened in post-Soviet times. And as you can imagine, buying the very expensive scanners and lighting and everything, and was not the first priority for the earlier Russia. So it was gifted, so to say, by the Americans. So libraries said that they would only allow to scan this particular manuscript if they were gifted the means to do so, which is a good thing because so many other
yeah,
manuscripts.
because it was scanned.
Yeah. So many other important manuscripts were scanned using this particular machine. So this is so here's the story so far. Qumran fragments, then 1,000 years, almost 1,000 years older Aleppo Codex, now incomplete, and the first complete one, Leningrad Codex.
Well, I should probably remind everyone that we started with Mandalorian.
Yeah, we started with Mandalorian with this fragment, which I really wanted to find. However, in this 1,000 years that is very rarely covered by popular stories, there were a number of manuscripts made that still survive. Let me name a few. There is the Damascus Pentateuch, which is now in Israel. Very much available to read. There is this small fragment of Exodus of 8th century, which is earlier than Aleppo Codex. Aleppo Codex is early 10th century. This is 8th century. This small fragment comes from the Cairo Geniza, and it left the Geniza before most of its contents were bought by Oxford, or was it Cambridge? By Oxbridge, let's say. So before it became known to the larger scholar community that the Geniza existed, some of the fragments started to appear on the market. And this particular fragment was bought and now goes from a private collection to a private collection, most recently sold by Sotheby's in 2012 for 30,000 pounds, which is impressive, isn't it? A fragment this small of a manuscript from 8th century. I mean, if it wasn't Hebrew Bible, it wouldn't cost you even $100 to buy this. Probably less. You can find fragments on
maybe.
eBay. Okay, but this is Cairo Geniza, and this is
I don't think. Maybe it
Hebrew.
was if it was a few centuries younger. Well, produced a few centuries later, but I don't think that for the 7th century the prices are so low. But anyway, whatever.
Okay, but this is a small fragment, but quite impressive prices. Speaking of which, when I was looking at this, I found out about a very new to the market manuscript, and not just to the market, but also to the scholars.
To
So,
Wikipedia.
and also to Wikipedia. So this is an almost complete manuscript of Hebrew Bible from the, hard to say, 10th century, roughly the age of Aleppo Codex, the formerly oldest complete manuscript. The Wikipedia page I'm showing you only appeared in the end of February, this February.
This February.
Everything else I was showing is over a decade old. So these are very, very well covered topics on Wikipedia. So when I saw this, I was, why don't I know about this? How come? Apparently, this manuscript has been in private collection for over a century, only shown once publicly for a few days, like 20 years ago, something. Uh, uh, yeah, maybe even before that. It was never published. Scholars haven't had access to it. It's barely known. But why has it appeared on Wikipedia now? Well, the answer is very simple. Sotheby's is gonna sell it this May for 30 to 50 million pounds.
So prepare your wallets.
So if you think that shilling out 20,000 pounds for a small fragment is beneath you, well, 30 to 50 million can buy you a whole, almost complete manuscript, and one of the oldest ones. It misses only 10 pages and a few fragments throughout, but otherwise it's a century older than Leningrad Codex and exactly as old as Aleppo Codex.
Where does it place it among the other most expensive books?
Oh yeah, I looked at that. There are a few more expensive ones, but I think it will be interesting to show you exactly. Here it is.
Maybe we need to do a live stream during the auction.
Oh, just a minute. List of most expensive.
Yeah, we discussed this earlier on our live stream or on our podcast. So we talked at length
Yes.
about the most
So
expensive books.
if I sorted inflation adjusted, here's what we get. Assuming the lower bound 30 million or the higher bound 50 million. And again, we
Well,
don't know how much
it's an estimate. It can go lower, it can
yes,
go higher.
yes. So
Maybe nobody would want to buy it. Who knows?
the most expensive manuscript ever was Codex Leicester by Da Vinci. It's currently owned by Bill Gates. It's shown now and then, so it's sort of available now to the public, and you can kind of understand why that cost 50 million, because it's a work of art. It's not just a journal. But then, if you go through the other ones, United States Constitution, $45 million. Then there is the Book of Mormon for roughly 40. There are a couple of Chinese calligraphy examples, which, as we discussed, may actually be bribes and not honestly bought manuscripts. And then there are a couple of European illuminated manuscripts of costing more than 30 million. And in that bracket, this is it. There is also a Magna Carta, actually not the first edition, which also cost almost 30, and everything else is below 20. So it will definitely be one of the most expensive manuscripts ever sold, but maybe the most expensive even, because from what I understand, there is interest from Israel, there is interest from Britain, from America, from basically everywhere. Everyone wants a piece of this book, and preferably the whole book. So,
I'm posting the link to our talk about the most expensive books in the chat, so everyone can watch it later if they want, because well, we talked a lot about this stuff.
oh yeah, we talked a lot about the most expensive manuscripts. And so this manuscript definitely contains the fragment we're into. Hey, Mandalorian, chapter 10, Exodus, chapter 10, verses 5 to 6. But there are no full scans just yet. And depending on who buys it,
Yeah,
there may not be full scans.
yeah.
Now, finally, there is just one example between this, which is early 9th century, and the Dead Sea Scrolls. And this is this unassuming example. This is the only 8th, potentially 7th century manuscript of Hebrew Bible. These centuries between Qumran and Aleppo Codex are really, really sparsely populated by manuscripts. We hardly know anything about text in that period and Hebrew books in general. So before Cairo Geniza appears on the stage, we know hardly anything. This fragment, it laid in a private collection for like 30 or 40 years. It was bought on the market in Beirut by a tourist, you know, like you do. You go to Lebanon, you buy yourself a scrape of an ancient text on the market. Why not? And it was among the collection of other manuscripts, and it was so dark and so difficult to read, let alone analyze the writing, that it stayed in this private collection for a while, until it was found by a scholar who photographed it and saw the characteristic shapes the of the letters, and it was consequently shown, exhibited in the Library of Israel, where many other early examples are, where another scholar saw it and immediately recognized the hand. I mean, imagine those people. You look at the shape of letters on a scrape of parchment, and you recognize it as the same as in another scrape of parchment that you saw decades ago. And there are hundreds of recognized scribal hands and even more unrecognized, but he saw it before. So it was eventually reunited with another piece of parchment that was found in a London library in a college. Interestingly, also of unknown provenance. Imagine that. There is a pretty significant manuscript of 8th or even 7th century in a London library, in a college, and no one knows when and how it appeared there. I mean, no idea, neither date know the source, nothing. Get a present, don't ask questions. I mean, the reckoning is coming for all those people, for all those institutions. And
No, not really.
well, we'll see. We'll see. Metropolitan Museum is currently about to return what, like 200 sculptures to Cambodia, which costs something like $50 million, just because they didn't ask questions. Well, you should. So anyway, this is the end of our journey, because this particular fragment found in a London library and remembered by only after encountering another fragment found in a Beirut market does indeed contain Exodus chapter 10 and chapter 11, Song of the Sea, if you know. So one of the most significant, liturgically significant fragments of the Exodus narrative, and it contains the words that we first encountered in Mandalorian. This is the oldest source for this text, which in the end was written in Mandalore characters, 7th or 8th century, currently in London. Originally, nobody knows from where, because nobody cared to ask. Thank you.
I should probably add that I think, as far as I understand, as far as I remember, this is the first appearance of this sort of text in any Star Wars media or whatever, because before that it was usually just some technical texts and bits and pieces of something quite mundane, and now we have well, biblical text.
And now we have this,
Yeah.
something about the wrath of God, of Christian God.
So yeah, it was an interesting choice of references for this series. And yeah, did you mention the names of the people who found this stuff, who traced it first on Reddit or wherever it was?
I can give the link.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, that would be nice.
Mhm.
So
Can I stop sharing now?
yeah, sure.
Done.
Um, I understand that that's it on your part. That's it with the stuff you wanted to discuss today, and I have some things to show, but I
And
need
I can't
to
wait.
I need to do something before that, and everything will break before I can show something. So, Pavel, if you can entertain our audience for a couple of minutes, I'll do the magic. And
Are you gonna tell us about the printing exhibition you went to?
yeah, printing festival. Yeah, exactly.
Uh-huh. So Stepan went to a printing festival, and the unique selling point was that they were in a beautiful cathedral,
Well, the
which,
unique selling point was that I.
well, that's what they said. It's not like this is the first time we're covering a festival, a bookish festival in a church.
Yeah.
Uh,
The unique selling point was that I got the invitation in my Instagram inbox, and obviously I decided to go because, well, why not? Uh,
so you've been in England by now for some time. Is it common to find churches being reused for lay purposes, or is it when you go to a church and finding something unrelated inside?
um, just a minute. I have
Mhm.
some sound. Just give me a moment, please.
Interestingly, I don't hear any sound. Oh, now I can hear an echo. I can hear myself. Hmm. I'm afraid to say something because, oh no, I won't.
Yeah, now it should
Sorry,
be fine.
guys. Is it? Is it?
Uh,
Is it? Is it? Is it?
and I'll have to um, share my screen and yeah, we just
Will I
found.
be able to see it?
I hope so. We just found out that either Zoom or our streaming software has changed something in their code, and I cannot share the screen from my main laptop, and I have to jump through the hoops to 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 be able to show you something. But yeah, share screen, optimize for video. Okay. Yep.
I think I can see it. Yes.
Yeah. Nice. Almost. Yeah. Yeah, it's fine. Interesting. Even without any additional prompts on my side. So,
Okay. So anywhere, where was it? Where was it? And what was it?
it was in Teddington. Teddington is a suburb of London. Um, as far as I understand, it's not London, but it's a separate town. But it's very near to London, and it's in well in the London area anyway. I find some people mention that they live in Teddington, that they live in London, and sometimes it's mentioned separately. I still need to understand how it works here in England. But anyway, Teddington, London, in a church, there is a public space that organizes some events from time to time. And they decided to organize this uh, printing printing festival, printing fair. Um, that's it's just the first year they do it. They plan to have it once every 2 years, so it's a biennial festival, and it's called Paper Ink Print Festival. And I shot several videos there. I talked with a couple of people who were showing their work there and selling their work there. Well, I understand that there were something like 50 participants. So yeah, I obviously didn't try to talk with everyone. I just I chose a couple of people without any prejudice to the others. It's just that happenstance. So I'll show you a couple of videos, give you a couple of comments, and there is a question from Beb van Hasteren. Was it the first time a printers event was organized in London? Well, I don't think so.
Probably
Definitely
not.
not. But it was maybe it was the first time printing event was organized in Teddington. That may be.
Which is also not true from what I understand.
Yeah, not true. Okay. Well, it was definitely the first time this festival happened. So it was definitely the first time Paper Ink Print Festival was happening, and the second time will be in 2025. So it's
Biennial.
yeah, biennial. So it started this past Friday, and that's on Sunday. So 3 days, amazing space. But yeah, let's see.
My name's Abigail Thomas. I work for the Landmark Arts Centre here, the big building we have in Teddington. This is the first time we are running Paper Ink Print Festival, which is a new festival for printmakers and artist books and everything paper related. It's going to be a biennial event. So the next one after this will be in 2025, and we hope that it will be a big success. We have over 50 artists here today, and we have a special exhibition space. Our building is quite unique in that it has this very, very large old church. So we have a great deal of space.
I'm having flashbacks. It's like you've shown something very similar before.
Well, and we'll show more of that later this year. But yeah, so that was Abigail Thomas, and one of the organizers of this festival, and many thanks to them for the invitation, and I had a couple of pleasurable hours there. Bought a couple of things, as I said. Talked to some participants there, and some participants asked me like, why aren't you having a stall here? Because well, we know that you just moved here, so it was a good opportunity for you. Well, yeah, maybe printing fairs is a bit out of my area of expertise of, or I don't know, area of but maybe
Business
bookbinders also
opportunities.
go to these fairs. Anyway, I was a bit too busy with the move and with the registration of the new company and all other stuff. So yeah, I didn't even consider doing that. Maybe next time in 2 years. I hope I definitely will be settled by then. So that's the first one. Then we have talk with one of the...
I'm Jill Smith. I'm here at the inaugural Paper Ink Print Festival at the Landmark Centre in Teddington. I live locally. I'm a printmaker, paper cutter, bookmaker. Basically, if you can do it with paper, then I'll have a go.
So how you came to paper cutting? Because
I came to paper cutting when I was doing printmaking. I always like it. I mean, this one here is an example. I like to get a bit of texture into what I'm doing. So this is a screen print with some embossing. And then, as I was doing more work from my studio at home, which, like a lot of people, is the attic, I don't like mess. And printmaking just is messy. So paper cutting lets me play with paper, and so what's better than that? And it's really clean. And I'm quite nerdy, you know. I like precision, squares and circles. And
yeah,
things.
I can see.
So you know, getting covered in ink, I've given up. Really. In saying that, I did teach the dry point printmaking class yesterday, which was super fun. But hell, was there a lot of ink where it shouldn't be, you know. But no, it's good.
Is so wonderfully English.
With the black.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So these are some works of Jill Smith, and yeah, I bought this one from her, and yeah, it's also a paper cut object.
What do you mean? Is it layered or
Yeah, it's layered. I'm not sure if I
really
maybe...
hard to see? Oh, I see. There are several layers, and
Yeah,
now I can see. Yeah,
yeah,
now we
yeah,
can see.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers. Yeah. And yeah. What's next? Let me see.
But you can probably pronounce it better than me.
Yeah.
So this is another object that I saw when I was there, and well, obviously I recognize that it's probably written in Ukrainian, in the Ukrainian language, and I stopped to check it and to browse through it, and I was intrigued by the object, so I asked its creator she will introduce herself in a bit. She definitely had many more other printed object books, miniature books, concertina books, whatever, on her table. I didn't focus on them, so we talked about this object, but I think it's worth mentioning and showing here as well. So.
Yeah, so this means ticket in Ukrainian. So I'm Jane Craddock. I'm a bookmaker, printmaker, and illustrator. I have family in the Ukraine, and when the Russians invaded the Ukraine, I decided I was going to raise some money by doing an online auction of a book. There was an edition before this. It was 10 limited book edition books, and they were pocket books. Because when I'd been to visit my family in the Ukraine, everywhere you go in the Ukraine, you get a ticket from a lady in a booth. So if you visit, so this was the Ethnographic Museum, you get a lovely ticket. So I kept all the tickets and I put them into an artist's book in a pocketbook. And so I decided to recreate this pocketbook with some photographs and information about where all the places were.
Is it available anywhere besides here?
It will be on my website. My website is being redeveloped at the moment to include a shop, so it will appear on the shop.
Okay.
I'll post the link to Jane's website as well. I think Pavel posted. Yeah, Pavel posted a link to Jill's website. Yeah. So that's an interesting object, and as you have just heard, it was a set of artist books, and that's the sort of 2.0 version of the same project. And I should say that I've been to, I don't know, maybe half of these objects, and I remember some of these tickets from Kiev. There are some museums from Lviv and some from Kiev, and well, I've been to most of the places in Kiev that Jane visited. So yeah, it was a very bittersweet moment to see this object, and well, I decided to buy this as well. So here it is. Okay, upside down. And yeah, it's a rather small book, but nice to have it. Here is a museum of printing, and what else?
In Lviv,
Yeah,
right?
book and printing. And here's the ticket for this museum, and yeah, there was something else that's related to books, but I'm not sure I can find it right away. But anyway, nice object, and I think Jane mentioned that part of the revenue goes to the Red Cross. So well, nice effort as well. And I understand that the book isn't available right now at the website, but you can definitely contact Jane, and I'm sure you'll figure it out if you are interested in this sort of book. Maybe you are collecting, tickets or something like that, or you just want to support Ukraine.
And I should mention that we discussed many of these bookish places in danger now in Ukraine. In one of our live streams, we certainly talked about the Lviv Print Museum and the printing history of Lviv there.
Yeah.
I'll post a link to the talk. It is a bit difficult to watch because we made it days after the war started.
Like a week after the war started.
Yeah. So a year ago, much has changed. I tried to watch it recently and I couldn't.
And we had to edit it to post some parts of it later. So yeah, can you imagine that? And then
hi, I'm Lizzie Brewer. I live in Teddington, and I've got a stand at the book fair in 2023. One of the books I've got is this one here, which is a photograph of a tiny part of a photograph of a hedge which I took. I fed it into the computer, and I asked it to translate it into HTML, and reams of stuff came out, reams and reams of stuff from that tiny little photograph. And so I chopped it up into pages and turned them into computer cards. And there's a kind of reference there as well to jacquard looms. And so, yeah, that's that. And I wanted it to fold down so that it could come out like in that way. It was a very difficult box to make. But
I thought maybe you will be interested in this project because, well,
I am, and I'm really interested what she means by she fed a little piece of photograph to the computer and she got an HTML out of it.
Why can't I just okay.
Yep.
Okay, I have a sig bar now. I didn't have a sig bar before. So she was talking about is there a pointer there? Yeah, about this small photograph, which I guess she mentioned that she transferred it into HTML. So I guess it was she put it on a web page and then just read the source code, or maybe it was a JEP. Well, as far as you can see in the pages, it doesn't read like HTML, so it reads more like the source of just a JPEG file of a graphic file. So she just printed it, and she mentioned that it was like pages and pages and pages in just one small JPEG, and obviously she didn't print out everything because it was too much. Because even I don't know, 100 kilobyte JPEG is like a lot of pages, a lot of printed pages. But then this project was born, and a mix of old computers, some illegible computer code, and artisanship and artist ingenuity. So yeah, I thought it would be.
Yeah, I really like the punch cards.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Yeah.
And then
that, and I wanted it to fold down so that it could come out like in that way. It was a very difficult box to make, but I managed it.
Nice. Interesting project.
Another one or not?
Yeah, sure, why not?
This one is my bird's nest book.
Yeah.
And I found a nest in a field in Essex, hanging off a tree. I didn't take a bird's nest yet. And I took it apart and photographed all the individual twigs, from the tallest, biggest ones to the smallest ones. So gradually it goes down and down. And I ringed them all like birds get ringed. So I measured them, I weighed them to find out how much a bird would have to have carried all that to the nest. And then these are little sort of things about, it's a magpie's nest. And these are little pieces of information about the magpie's nest and about magpies themselves. Some kind of folk stuff, you know.
Okay.
They're like bookmarks.
Interesting.
So I think it adds nicely to our eternal discussion of what's a book and what's not a book.
I really like this.
Yeah. And at the beginning of my part of our today's live stream, Abigail Thomas told that this space allows them to do more than many other spaces, and that also includes the exhibition of another work of Lizzie Brewer, who just talked about two of her books, and this is this scroll. which was well, it was put right in the middle of the church, across the church, and yeah, it was the first object one can see. It's, again, a book or not? What is it?
That's a book.
It
A
definitely
scroll is a book.
it definitely tells a story, as we discussed before. If it tells a story, it may be a book. So yeah, that's it. That's all the material I had to share with you today about this festival, and I hope more people will come in 2 years, in 2025. And in my opinion, it was a complete success. And oh, I also got a tote bag from them, so some freebies for me. um, Many thanks to all the people who organized this event, and good luck next time. So thanks everyone for watching and for being with us. We have some useful links in the description, and please check them. Please join us on our Discord server. There is a nice community of people there helping each other, making to make books, and not only. And see you next time. Next time we will have a guest. Next time we'll post an announcement a bit later. And yeah, thank you, Pavel, for preparing for today. And I think it works quite okay with this new internet connection, and
Yeah,
it should
yeah.
be
I
fine from
kept
now on.
seeing you and hearing you.
That's that's what we wanted. Yeah.
What else one can wish?
Yeah, yeah, perfect. Okay, so we'll, as usual, we'll stay for a minute longer, just to be sure that all the video comes through. But that's it for today. See you next week.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.